Okay. God, the light in here is nuts. Let's see if I can get down a little. I don't want to talk about the presidential debate, but I kind of have to. I really don't want to, but I'm going to. My cat's awesome. Alright, fuck me, I really don't want to do this. I feel like I kind of have to. So, last night was the oh god, I gotta get down a little. Last night was the presidential debate, and I could give two shits. Could not care less. My cat couldn't care less either. Really, he couldn't. He's a cat. Here's the thing. Full disclosure. If you didn't know already, I'm a libertarian. I was going to go vote for Gary Johnson anyway. I guess if he were... God, I'm trying to imagine what he would have to do to lose my vote. Well, he didn't, so I don't have to worry too much about it. I really can't think of anything on that front. See, this is what happens when there's sunlight. It looks like... Anyway. So my point is, I was going to vote for Gary Johnson anyway. I think he's currently trending... I think he has 13% or something like that, which is the best any third party has done in... God, at this point... God, for quite a long time. Quite a long time. Not since I've been alive. And I'm not old, but I'm certainly getting up there. So, there was talk of him going into the debates, but the non-partisan debate commission, or whatever it is, I disapprove of some of their rules. Like, why not have Gary Johnson and Jill Stein? She's if as third party goes, she's runner-up. The Green Party is actually doing fairly well. Not as well as the Libertarians, but still well enough that they shouldn't be discounted. I don't think anyone should be discounted, but, particularly in a national forum, obviously you don't... I was going to say you don't want every crazy pants, wearing a rubber shoe on his head candidate throwing in, but I kind of do. I mean, if someone... God, this is a whole nother video I've already done. If someone has a crazy idea or a stupid idea, I want that in the public forum just so I can go, look, this is crazy or stupid for these reasons. And more people are aware of that. It takes the power away from it. Why is Gary Johnson and Jill Stein not in the public debates? Last time a third-party candidate was in the debates was when I was younger, much younger. It was Ross Perot. And I was in college. When was that? Regardless. And now it's... and darkness descends. I merely invoke Ross Perot, and apparently the sun blackens. Alrighty. That is really dramatic. This is actually not going to be as shitty as I thought it was. Fun times. Alright, so way back when, Ross Perot gets into the debates. And in my circle of friends anyway, it was actually a friend, Jason, who commented very cogently that prior to Ross Perot showing up, like really being on the stage and such like that, you had the Republicans and the Democrats talking about bullshit no one cared about. I usually use flag burning as like a throwaway. What a non-issue. Who fucking cares? But they were seriously talking about it in the presidential debates up until Ross Perot stood on stage and just goes, no, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about something else. And they started talking about the budget and specific foreign policy points, and issues. They started talking about issues, like real issues. I have to believe, because as far as political parties go, they keep a lot of the same guys forever. Like some of the senators from the Senate in particular, but also from the House, some of these guys have been in office for as long as I've been alive. And even the ones who aren't have been in there for quite a long time. I have to believe that some of them are going, like it was yesterday, like, oh shit, we're not doing a Perot again. Fuck that. We just want to do some bullshit talking points and make our guy sound good. And that's that. I mean, I have to believe that they really pushed against getting any third-party candidates in, or at least not easily. To jump in, Johnson as well as Stein would have had to have been, it just would have had to have been overwhelming. To such an extent that the debates would have been superfluous. They would have had to have been so amazing that everyone would have to be so on board with them that there'd be no question, there'd be no reason for a debate at that point. And that's not bloody likely. Some people, this person as in particular, would argue that the debate commission is a tool of the two parties, a two-party system. I don't approve of it. If you do, fine, but I have to make the point, the two-party system we have has led us up to the point where we have two of the most miserable candidates I have ever seen in my lifetime. Bar none. I can't think of anyone close to these two. Even in history, even before I was alive. I mean, Ford and Carter, blah, whatever. But they were no Clinton and Trump. Jesus Christ. Talk about this is because my Facebook today has just exploded. Like, everyone's talking about the stupid ass, the most meaningless debate I've ever seen. I haven't watched the whole thing, just watched snippets of it. I'm like, this is pointless. This is utterly pointless. We have the joke candidate and the most transparently corrupt politician I'm aware of. I'm sure someone out there is worse, like more corrupt, more willing to, sell influence, more, just very blasé about personal liberties, civil liberties. Someone worse than Clinton. I'm sure someone is. But not this obviously. I mean, at least Dr. Sinister is out there quietly doing his awful, sinful business. Instead of being, I don't know who she's fooling. Who she thinks she's fooling. Okay, so in between here, I've just been going back, and it's like, I don't want to watch the debate. There's a reason I didn't see it last night. But I've been kind of watching highlights of it, and man, these are really awful candidates. I've said so before, but I don't really subject myself to them very often. Like, I'm very careful about that. I don't need to make myself more miserable. But man, this is shocking. I can't believe how bad these guys are. And I know that support for these two parties, and to some extent the two-party system, I guess, is at an all-time low. At least an all-time low in the past 2 generations. And I can see why these guys are so transparent. I mean, I don't think either of them has a real agenda. I mean, they say they do, and people who like them and hate them, any one of them will say, oh, this person hates Mexicans or wants to ban guns or anything like that, but God, I believe if either of them thought that completely turning on a dime with any issue would guarantee them the presidency, they'd do it in a heartbeat, in a second. I mean, God, it's like they're just... These two are vomitous. They are really bad. I'm like looking. I'm staring at like the debate right now. God, they look bad. You know, and it's fine. Looks can be deceiving. Except these look like monsters. These are monsters. Oh man, this is just hard to watch. Like, I don't believe they believe anything they're saying. Like, I mean, I believe they are actual human beings who have opinions and so on. But I think their opinions are somewhere, and what they're saying is derived from it somewhat, kinda. I don't believe either of these believe half the shit they're saying. And even the things that they do believe, they don't believe to the extent that they're saying. I don't believe it. I don't buy this at all. I can't do it. I can't get through the debate. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't make myself watch this. It's like if someone said, "Hey, I'm gonna have this video of me executing your pet. You wanna watch it?" You'd be like, "No." And if somehow you felt the need to, you'd never get through it. It's like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't watch this. This is awful. I every second I look at these two, I just go, you should not be anywhere near power at all. But I did want to talk about that a little bit, about these two candidates, just my take on them. And these are my opinions. They're confirmed or negated by facts as do you see fit. I mean, it's just what I think. These are my perceptions. Trump, I never spend time, never waste time denouncing. Does it need to? Currently, he's not trending as well as Clinton, who's not doing well herself. Neither of these candidates has as much as 40% of the popular vote at this moment. Theoretically, if it were calculated, it's part of the, you're throwing your vote away, or you're not voting for my shitty candidate, so you must be in favor of that awful candidate I'm voting against. I don't vote against people. I don't do that. That's a waste of time. That is philosophically and ethically very questionable. Because you get to exactly the situation. I mean, I'd say that was a bad idea when you have two good candidates. Just voting against just voting for the one you dislike the least. Where does that lead? This is where it leads. I mean, honestly, everyone who's trying to tell me, and it's mostly Clinton, they're mostly trying to get me to vote for Clinton, because they want me to vote against Trump. They don't want to vote for Clinton, they want me to vote against Trump. Let's say one of these two candidates gets elected this year. One of these two. And it's likely, when you think about it. It's very likely. God, I kind of have this image of one of them, like pictures of them, and I have to get rid of it because it's like, I feel like these are two child predators and I'm like the little kid. They really look creepy to me. These two are really awful. My point is, let's say one of these two gets elected. What does the next election look like? Or even better, the one after that? What does this look like 2 elections down the road if you vote for one of these? If one of these two gets into office, then both of these parties will have learned, okay, we don't have to make candidate. Every time you do this, every time you vote for the least shitty candidate, you're just telling them, you don't have to be better than this. And down it goes. Just a big downward spiral. Can you imagine? I mean, the candidate that comes out that makes us go, well, this guy doesn't make me hate President Trump as much. I appreciate President Trump more because of this guy. Jesus Christ, can you even imagine that? Ugh. Anyway, going through these, I don't spend time with talking about Trump. I don't waste time with it because he's the joke candidate in my mind. I don't know why he's running. I mean, I kind of have this idea in my head that he's just a monstrous ego and he wants to be in a history book. Not that he has some great idea about anything. He comes across as an asshole, like the worst kind of asshole, a self-important asshole, a self-aggrandizing, self-important asshole. But there's nothing to the people telling me to vote for Clinton because they hate Trump, I think, are giving Trump way too much credit. There's nothing to this guy. There's nothing. I mean, let's explain that. We're not electing a king or a magician. It's not like, you're going to get Clinton or Trump in office and they can just declare that there's going to be more rainbows or more hugs or sex or something like that. They don't have that power. Their power is purely, mostly martial, I'd argue, but mostly legislative. What's more is this is the executive branch. I mean, this is kind of the mascot for the country, not really. They're treating him like a king, and they're not. Obama, in particular, is a great example, but there have been other good examples too, at different times in their careers. Both of the George Bushes, Clinton in his second term, where even though at some point Barack Obama had a supermajority for most of his tenure, he still complained about how I couldn't do everything I wanted to, and people were complaining a lot. Pardon me. Let's not be vague. I was complaining a lot that he was way overstepping his bounds. My point is, there are a system of checks and balances in place. There are limits to their power, particularly for a president, and there should be. I kind of get the impression that the people who are worried about a king Republican want a king Democrat. And vice versa. Oh, definitely vice versa. Because it's like, unbridled power is awesome, as long as it's our guy. And that's wrong. I don't want Gary Johnson to have unbridled power. I want him to be limited by, once again, a system of checks and balances. I want those to be in place. Because even if you love the guy in power now, and even if you agree with absolutely everything he says and does, sooner or later that's not going to be that guy in power. Indeed, in American politics, we tend to swing left and right. Like, we get the guy who is the most popular, and it's like, oh, this is what this guy wanted? And then the next, the midterm elections, the opposite party tends to sweep in. I mean, dear God, look at the last midterm. Republicans swept it. Because they didn't... The general consensus is the American public doesn't want a supermajority. They don't want the president and the majority of Congress to be the same party. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. But why am I not concerned about Trump? Here's why. What can he do? I mean, with the existing... I mean, I hate the way Obama, Bush, Clinton, even Reagan, to a lesser extent, but still, Reagan, Carter, I mean, everyone in my lifetime, and quite a bit further back, each one is trying to erode the limits of their office, trying to grab more and more power for someone who has specific things they're supposed to be able to do at specific times, not anything they want to do. Like, just some of the kooky shit monarchs could do back in the day. Without the backing of a major political party, and let's be clear, Donald Trump doesn't have the backing of a major political party, as insane as that is. He doesn't. He was not their favorite. That was not the guy The old guard wanted. Romney, I'd say, is an exemplar of that, but others too. They wanted Mark Rubio, and I forget the other guy's name, but I'm not going to look it up because I don't give a shit. But also, the newer guard, Rand Paul, they certainly didn't. They didn't want Cruz, let alone Trump. So, President Trump gets up to bat. He wants to put a bunch of crazy laws in place or get rid of these laws or do God only knows what. He can't do that without the support of Congress. And if his own party isn't going to back him, and indeed, any Republican who stands up to him is going to look great. Like, oh, you went across across partisan lines to stand up for something you believed in. You're awesome. You're definitely better than this shitty-ass president we have. They'll look great doing it. So don't have the backing of the Republicans. Sure as shit not going to have the backing of the Democrats. So how is this guy going to get anything accomplished? What can he do exactly? The answer should be very little. The answer is quite a bit too much. But still, part of it is, I've heard this shit before. In the, what was it? Bush versus Kerry. Like, we have to get Kerry into office or else the ground is going to open up and swallow us all and we're all going to have to move to Canada. I've heard all this shit before, and lo and behold, the apocalypse didn't come. Indeed, the shittier the candidate, the more they go up against their own party and the opposing party. The shittier, in other words, the less popular that president is, the easier it's going to be for every single other politician, regardless of party, to stand up to them or actively work against them. And indeed, they look better doing it. So I'm not worried about President Trump. Not a concern. If he'll be super shitty. If he were the president, he'd be super, super shitty. I'm more concerned with... God, I want to say more. That makes it sound like I'm not concerned with the other. I hate both of these guys so much. I really do. But let's talk about Clinton. Let's stop for a second. Let's talk about Clinton and my opinions there. All right. I am so bait up and ready for this. I don't want to talk. I need to, but I don't want to. It's weird. I'm actually a very kind of political person. Okay, let's be honest with myself. I'm a very political person, but I don't like talking about politics, not the least of which being because no one agrees with me. But also, I don't like to get into fights over it. A lot of people have this weird opinion like, oh, you don't agree with me, you must be an awful human being. It's like, what? Like, look, when this debate happened last night, the first one of the season, my Facebook blew up on both sides. Like, mostly it's, Trump is super shitty on one hand with, well, Clinton is really shitty too on the other. It's ridiculous. Because I know people on both sides. And I know a lot of people on neither. And I know a couple of people on my side, libertarian side. And I know quite a few people on the green side, Green Party. And more power to them. Someone, I forget who, was saying something like Jill Stein got arrested. They arrested Jill Stein for showing up. Like, how dare you show up? You don't get to debate or talk. And someone made the comment like, oh, well, these trivial hangers-on, these political whack jobs. I'm like, shit, this is by all rights, the fourth most popular candidate running in this election. This is not a trivial person. I don't agree with Jill Stein, but I respect her more than 1 and 2. God knows. Let's talk about the Electoral College. I don't know why people keep forgetting this. Like, constantly in conversation, it's just like, why are you talking about this person or the other person being more popular? That's irrelevant. We have an Electoral College. It's not won by a popular vote. The way it works like this, each state gets a certain number of Electoral College votes, You win the state, winner take all. You don't get one or two. That has happened historically. It is very, very rare. You get all or nothing. The Democrats generally win more of the popular vote. I think Clinton is currently sitting around 40, somewhere in that neighborhood where, although I know both of them have been dropping. And good. Good God. I can't think of something that makes me more pleased to be in this country than having people go, yeah, we looked at these two. And even though we're convinced that we only have a choice between these two, we're still not. We still hate the fuck out of them. So, there's a ray of optimism as the light levels slowly rise in my room. So it's won by an electoral college. There are only 2 swing states. We know where all of those votes, but two states are going to go. Theoretically. The fact that Johnson's in this, the presence of a third party is drawing votes, states, and electoral college votes from both parties. All right. And that's the thing. That's where we get into this. Why I don't like Clinton, because I think she'll win. I think we'll get to precisely this point, and I think shenanigans will happen, like voting shenanigans. Not a lot, not like blatant. We've replaced the senator with a robot duplicate, but I think shenanigans will happen, and I think it will be to get Clinton in office. Like I said, not a lot, but enough to get her in office. I don't think, like I said, Trump is incompetent. He is an avatar of whatever the complete opposite of charisma is. But he is not an effective, corrupt politician. Whereas I'd argue that you can say that Clinton is not an effective, corrupt politician, but she's right now running for the President of the United States and currently has the best shot of it. Shot of reaching it. Like I said, at the very beginning I didn't want to do this video. I still don't want to do this video. This is stupid and it's pissing me off. But my Facebook exploded. I'm looking for food porn where we're making exciting new ice cream recipes or videos of cats doing funny things, and no, it's everyone talking about this fucking debate. So I'm kind of, this is pissing me off, and I'm not going to explode at someone on Facebook. That's not my bag. I just don't care that much. But, and particularly because I'd have to put it either in my own channel, on my own Facebook page, and I don't want to do that, or I'd have to, reply to someone who I disagree with, and I'm like, I don't want to pick someone out and start a fight. That's not how I operate. It's not how I think. I don't want to start fights. I have a weird naming convention for these videos. This is definitely going to be compulsory, I tell you what. So the debate happened. We have Hillary Clinton, one of the most transparently corrupt politicians I've ever seen. I mean, it's not just that the Clinton Foundation makes so much money selling influence, and so much money, raising money from people and people who like Saudi Arabian oil barons and in the former Soviet Union, $1 million speaking fees for old Bill, and it's like, God, this is the worst. This is the most. I mean, this is a politician with a big-ass for sale sign on her back. And the number of times she's just blatantly lied, and the number of times, the number of scandals with her, and legitimate scandals. It's not that other politicians don't have scandals. I'm sick of hearing that argument. Well, she's awful, but, Trump is awful too. And it's like, well, if I'm a horrible person, I'm standing next to Hitler, that doesn't suddenly make me a good person, now does it? Likewise, I mean, she's standing on this stage next to a cartoon villain. That doesn't make her awesome or appropriate for this office. Part of it is just partisan. It's like a football team. It's like I don't know football teams, so I think the Ravens are a team, and I think the Dallas Cowboys are a team. So if they ever fought, some people would root for their Ravens, other people would root for their Cowboys. Not because the Cowboys are better men, not because the Ravens are more intellectually superior or more, emotionally well set, or, more philosophically insightful. They're two fucking teams. You like the ones with the birds, or you like the ones with the cowboy guys. There's nothing to that. Likewise, elections are the same way, in my mind. It's exactly the same way. Not for everyone, but for enough people, I'm always in favor of the red team, or I'm always in favor of the blue team. I like the color blue, or I like the color red. It's sexier. I don't know. Some people are just going to be in favor of their guy because they're in favor of this person. Here's another thing. I mean, I'm not hearing this enough. Trump is a hawk. He is in full-on favor of war. Clinton is a hawk. Let's back up just a second. Trump is theoretically a hawk. He says he will be in favor of different policies that will lead to more foreign intervention and so on, more fighting, more military spending. But what he talks about in theory, Clinton has proven, has demonstrated in her history as a Secretary of State. Just Jesus Christ. This woman has demonstrated she's very much a hawk. There are no doves. There's no peace candidate here. And no one's really talking about that. They were during the first Bush-Obama. Was it Bush and Obama? No, it was Obama and who was it at the time? Was it Romney? I don't know. I don't care. That Obama was the dove. Like, he was it's crazy the amount, and I agreed with him. I strongly dislike Barack Obama the president, but I am way in favor of Barack Obama the candidate. A lot of this shit he said was on tap and dead center right in my mind. It's a shame he just dropped it and became George Bush 2.0 the second he got into office, but whatever. My point is, part of the thing that got him in office was he was so against foreign intervention, in theory, obviously. But no one is like that in this election. Who is it? Aside from the Libertarian guy that I'm voting for, which of these two is that? That should theoretically be the Democrat. It definitely isn't. It's not the shit that these two disagree with that concerns me. It's very much where they are perfectly in line. Like, this is the shit that's going to happen in the next 4 years, regardless of who gets elected. I think that's got everything I wanted to talk about down. This is very ranty. It's me like, God, this is a bunch of bullshit. Like I said, I hate Trump because he's awful and he has nothing to offer. Like, even if I agreed with any of his ideas, and I don't, how would he get him in? How would he, even if you agreed with him, you don't want this candidate because he's not going to accomplish anything. He won't accomplish a single damn thing of value. He'll do nothing substantial. How could he? Clinton, I think, could do all sorts of stuff, and that's kind of my concern here. I think, despite the fact that she shouldn't be able to win the election, I think she'll do it anyway. I mean, do I think she's corrupt enough to say, well, the ends justify the means, and what could be a better ends than getting me in office? I mean, am I the only one who looks at Hillary Clinton and thinks to themselves, if the devil showed up on stage on a live interview and said, Hillary Clinton, you can be the president right now, guaranteed, no questions asked, absolute certainty, all you have to do is eat this baby right now, and gives her a baby. I don't think she'd pause long enough to get a fork. Really. Maybe that's just me. But, I mean, this seems a very power grabby person. More than Trump, and God, you know? But whatever. So I think Trump's awful. I think Clinton is someone who has the will to do bad, to break the law, to get her accomplish her goals, and I think has the means to. I think she's powerful enough, certainly rich enough, certainly richer than Trump. I mean, for all the hullabaloo about how much money he has, he's been bankrupt so many goddamn times, it's ridiculous. I think she has the will and the capability to do really awful stuff. I suspect she may have already. I know for a fact she may have already. I don't think making her more powerful politically will end that. I think these are two really bad guys. I don't think either of them should be in office. And when they debate one another with no third party, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Johnson and Stein up on that stage with them. I would have watched that debate. I would have seriously watched the fuck out of that debate. But they weren't. It's two people who agree on way too much, being two awful people who agree on way too much, just seeing who looks less bad by comparison. I don't think anyone wins that debate. I've heard Hillary Clinton won the debate. I don't call that winning. I don't think that's a win for anyone. She already looked better than someone who's absolutely awful. That's not much of an accomplishment. I don't know. I think I'm going to end this right here because I'm actually calmed down a little now that I've been talking about it a bit. I'll post it when I feel like it. I think that's me. I'm out.